Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about 4 strategies that you can use to get started and start making money utilizing Amazon FBA. Now, if you haven't started an Amazon business or you're thinking about starting an Amazon business, you're definitely going to want to stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to be breaking down pretty much the 4 most popular strategies of how to sell on Amazon utilizing Amazon FBA. Now, full disclosure, I am a 7-figure Amazon FBA private label seller. So obviously, I favor towards the 4th strategy that I'm going to be talking about, which is private labeling. And I would encourage you to stick around to the end because I see this strategy or this tactic kind of evolving, right? We call it private labeling, but we're really starting to see brands emerge and do more and more product customization. So if you're interested on kind of knowing my thoughts more about where I see this specific method taking off and kind of evolving, I'd encourage you to stick around to the end. I also wanted to mention that I'm going to be giving you, as best of my ability, kind of an unbiased opinion about each one of these strategies. I think that all of them have a lot of pros and cons to them. And really what it's going to come down to is evaluating your strengths and weaknesses and choosing the right business decision for yourself. I think that some of these models up here make it extremely easy to get started on Amazon or get started selling on Amazon, and I think that that can be very attractive. I also think that while everyone is very focused on making as much money as possible, the skills that you acquire at taking on any of these business models are extremely valuable. So I don't want to undervalue that point at all. So let's jump into today's video. And the first strategy of how you can make money on Amazon utilizing Amazon FBA is retail arbitrage. Now, if you're not familiar with retail arbitrage, it's essentially a process of going to your local big box store, such as a TJ Maxx, a Walmart, maybe a JCPenney's, something that is essentially a box retailer store that's selling product at discount or maybe in the clearance section. What you're going to do is you're going to go to that local store and you're going to go to the clearance section, and Amazon has an app. There's other apps out there, and you're essentially going to start scanning the products that are available or in the clearance section. And what you're doing here is you're looking on Amazon, or you're matching the product with what's directly in front of you, and you're looking on Amazon to ensure that there's enough sales demand and sales depth within the market, and that you can purchase that product at below what you can sell it for on Amazon. And that is pretty much the premise of retail arbitrage. And you're going to consistently do that for all of the products in the clearance section, or as many products as you feel fit, until you find a select couple, 1 or 2 that you feel that you can make money off of, purchasing from within the store and then flipping or selling on Amazon. Now, there's a lot of great positives to starting at the retail arbitrage level. The first positive here is that it's a great way to learn about Amazon and how to sell on Amazon. It's also an extremely low capital requirement. You don't need a lot of money to essentially do retail arbitrage. You can start with a couple $100s. Basically, your investment is the amount of money that you need to purchase that product in store and then ship it into Amazon. At the same time, like I said, it allows you to get a very good overview of the requirements for Amazon. You might need to get approval in a certain category to sell a certain product. You're going to learn about Amazon barcodes. Maybe the listing already isn't created on Amazon. Maybe the listing is already created on Amazon. It's going to teach you about how to list products on Amazon. And specifically, it's going to teach you a lot about what products sell on Amazon and what are good categories to be looking for products within. As you guys know, I'm a big proponent of bootstrapping and bootstrapping your business. I bootstrapped my own 7-figure e-commerce business. I didn't follow the retail arbitrage model. However, I do see a lot of advantages with starting at the retail arbitrage level as a way to bootstrap your business. So if you're tight on funds or you don't have a lot of capital to initially get involved with some of these more capital intensive business models, retail arbitrage can act as a great way to get started with Amazon FBA. Now let's talk about some cons for retail arbitrage. And the first one here is that this doesn't scale very easily, or it's going to require a lot of people to help you scale the model. And the reason for that is that you physically have to be going around store to store, finding these deals, scanning these products, comparing prices. You physically have to be driving to the local Walmart, loading up your car, bringing it back home to you, packing it up and shipping it into Amazon. So it doesn't scale well, it's time consuming, and even if you're able to get it up and scale it to a decent level, you're going to need quite a few local employees. You'll probably eventually need a warehouse. So you have more constraints on the ability to scale very quickly. In addition to that, you are not going to be the only person selling this product. And what ends to happen here is that you're going to be fighting for something called the buy box. And if you're familiar with the buy box, it's the little button that says add to cart now on the Amazon product page. Now there's a bunch of different factors that determine who has the buy box. However, in the retail arbitrage model, you're not going to be the only seller selling this product. Let's think of like Dove soap or some other very generic product like Coca-Cola or some other health and beauty product, right? There's going to be many other sellers that are selling this product. So if you're not priced the cheapest for that product at the given time, then you're not going to win the buy box, and it's going to be challenging for you to sell the product. Another con here is that this is definitely not a passive income business. If you're thinking about building a passive income business, or you're examining the Amazon FBA opportunity as one or potentially as one, it's not going to be with retail arbitrage. There's just too much time-consuming activities of you physically have to go out to the store, get the product, bring it back, ship it into Amazon. Another con that might not directly come to mind here is that there's a couple of hidden costs, such as miles that you're going to put on driving to the local store, or the gas that you're going to have to put in your tank. These are all costs that should be built into your margins, in addition to the time that it takes you just to source and then sell that product. The next strategy for how to make money utilizing Amazon FBA is online arbitrage. And the main difference between retail arbitrage and online arbitrage is that your research or the products that you're purchasing are online versus in a retail store. So essentially what you're doing here is that you're going on to other websites and you're looking for discounts on other websites, you're purchasing that product, and then you're having it shipped to yourself, and then you're shipping it into Amazon. So essentially what you're doing here is you're doing product research out on other websites, and you're comparing the discounts that you can purchase that product for on other websites, and you're comparing it to Amazon and seeing if there's a margin there that you can essentially flip products from website to website. Most of the pros to this business model are very similar to retail arbitrage, except for there's a couple more that I want to talk about. And the first pro here is that this is easily a model that you can work from home or from your computer, right? You don't need to go to the local store and purchase the product. You can do all of your product research and all of your sourcing directly from your computer. Another positive is that you can be sourcing products and doing the comparing of products 24/7. So you really don't have much of a time constraint. You could be doing it in your free time. You could be doing it after work. Any time that essentially you have a couple extra minutes here or there, you can be hopping on the computer and doing product research. Another positive here is that there's a lot of online tools that help you do this process. Whether it's scanning for deals on other sites or price comparison between Amazon and whatever site that you're looking at. There's a lot of software tools out there that help you do this. Another positive is that you can easily fund online arbitrage through credit cards. So if you're on a tight capital requirement or a tight capital budget, using credit cards to kickstart this can just help you get started, and then you can reinvest those profits into purchasing more inventory. Now let's jump into cons of online arbitrage. And the cons, again, are very similar to the cons in retail arbitrage. I would say that there's one other main additional con that I see with this model, and that it can just be so overwhelming. You know, when you're online and you're looking at all of the categories, you're just going to be asking yourself, like, where do I start? Like, there's so many different products that you could be, sourcing online and comparing to on Amazon. I can understand that it would just become really overwhelming pretty quickly for somebody. So you just need to find some way of being able to like cut through the clutter and kind of focus your efforts in a specific area or category so that you can just like block out a lot of that white noise that'll just distract you from your end goal. The third strategy to how to make money on Amazon FBA is wholesale. And this is where it starts to get a little bit more interesting for myself personally. Wholesale is a very interesting model in the sense that you're purchasing already an existing brand's inventory or stock, and you're listing that stock on Amazon and essentially selling it for them. It differs from the other models in the senses that you're not purchasing the product from a retail store or another online store. You're essentially going direct to the brand and you're cutting a deal with them and saying, hey, I'm going to sell your products online or on Amazon. Now with the wholesale model, there's a couple of pros here that we need to talk about. And the first one is that you only need to really worry about selling the product online. You're going to see that private labeling involves you controlling the entire supply chain. Everything from idea creation to manufacturing to getting that product shipped over, to the Amazon FBA fulfillment center and then actually selling online. In a wholesale model, you don't need to worry about kind of that back end aspect of selling your product. You're solely focused on just selling the product online. Now that's a good advantage because you don't need to be worried or concerned about so many things. You can let the brand handle the product quality, the packaging, the manufacturing of the product, and then you only need to focus on getting that product selling on Amazon. Another positive with the wholesale model is that you're going to be selling a pre-existing brand, which means that there's probably already some sort of a brand following or some sort of a brand loyalty that is coming along with the brand. So if you're doing your product selection correctly and you're choosing the correct brand, they're already going to have a lot of those branding elements and probably a customer base that's likely already looking for the product on Amazon. So you'll be able to take advantage of that core brand following just by virtue of associating yourself with that brand and representing it on Amazon. Another positive is the liquidity of a wholesale product. If for some reason you have trouble selling the product or you can't sell the product, there's probably many other buyers that will take this product off your hands because it's a well-known brand, or potentially you'd even be able to sell it back to the brand itself. There's probably ways to get rid of the product very easily if for some reason you needed to liquidate your inventory or get your cash back. Another positive with the wholesale model here is that many categories on Amazon require approval, and the brand is likely going to be able to provide you the certificates or the paperwork that is going to allow you to sell within that category. And getting unlocked in different categories on Amazon is extremely valuable. So it might just be a little bit easier of an ungating or a category approval process rather, with using the documents that these pre-existing brands already have. Another positive of this model is that it's extremely scalable. If you're working with a reputable brand and you're able to lock in a deal with them, the ability, once you start selling and if you can start moving volume, it's going to be very easy, or it should be quite easy to replenish that inventory and continue to sell with them. Now let's talk about the cons. You're likely going to need a higher capital investment when it comes to wholesale for the brands that take you serious. you're going to need to show them that you're willing to put in $5,000, $10,000 worth of inventory to prove to them that you're a serious buyer and that they'd be willing to give you that product at a discounted or wholesale rate. Another con here is that you have less product control. And what I mean by that is you didn't build this product. This isn't your brand. So you're gonna have almost no say in any product modifications that you might wanna make or any branding modifications that you might wanna make. You know, this is their company and you're simply purchasing the product from them and then listing it on Amazon. Another con with this model is that you're gonna have to likely deal with other sellers if you don't structure your deal correctly with the wholesale or the company that you're purchasing wholesale from. And what I mean by that is if other sellers start selling the same product on Amazon, you're essentially gonna start competing over different parts of the product listing page. The buy box, which I just talked about, you're gonna start competing for. Maybe the other seller starts changing the images. Maybe the other seller starts changing the copy. You have to remember that Amazon is a marketplace. And if you don't own the brand and you're simply listing someone else's brand, anybody else is almost free to make changes or adjustment to that product page, especially if they are a contributor or they have the product for sale themselves. So you could run into some issues with the detail page on Amazon and with other sellers. Another con is that the brand that you're purchasing from could raise their prices, or they might set a price minimum or a price maximum. They might be more constricting around your margin or what you can sell the product for. So they're just gonna have more control over the selling experience, and that can be a limiting factor for you, especially if your margin's tight and you need to spend money on advertising, for example, and they're not allowing you to raise the price up to a certain level, or you have to have it at a certain level, and that's affecting your volume that you're able to sell the product at. And the last con here, which is probably the worst thing that could happen, is that the brand themselves sees your success. Let's say that you've put in all this work and you made the deal with the brand and you've got it selling successfully on Amazon, and now it's taking off and your business is scaling. The brand can see your success, and they're gonna think to themselves, hey, I can just list my own products on Amazon and completely cut out this third-party seller. So the fear of them eventually seeing your success and being like, hey, I can do this myself, and then just cutting you completely out of the picture is definitely a fear and something that you should be concerned about as you're launching or thinking about launching this model. So I do think wholesale can be a pretty good model if you're able to cut a good deal with the brand. And that's really what the wholesale model is going to be coming down to. Now let's move on to the fourth strategy of how you can go out there and start making money on Amazon utilizing Amazon FBA. And that fourth strategy is private labeling. Now, in all the other models, you're essentially going out there and flipping someone else's product, right? It's not your brand. You're going out there, you're purchasing that product, and you're flipping it and putting it on Amazon. In the private label model, you're controlling the entire supply chain. Everything from product research to idea creation to creating that product, manufacturing that product, shipping it over, storing it, shipping it into Amazon, and then finally getting it up and selling on Amazon. Briefly, you're essentially looking for good market opportunities. You're filling a void within that niche category, and you're providing a high quality product that caters to those customers. Now, as I said, I'm a 7-figure private label seller, so this is clearly where my preference is for making money on Amazon. Now, I have private label in quotes here because in a traditional sense, private labeling essentially started out with taking an off-the-shelf product from a factory and putting your label on it or your packaging on it. As the private label business model continues to develop, we start to develop or have more input into the product whether it's the makeup of the product, the engineering of the product, or the design of the product. So while yes, we are putting our own label or branding on that product itself, we're now also doing product customizations, and we're innovating on the product, we're improving the product. And that's really where I see this evolving as we continue down with the private label model. Now let's talk about the positives with private labeling. And the first positive is that you are in control of your brand and of your product. So whereas all the other models here kind of had cons to not controlling the brand, in the private label model, you control everything about the product, the branding, the pricing, the quality. You are in complete control of the way that you design your product and market it. With that product control comes the ability to build a very large, scalable brand. So if you're able to do this successfully and you're able to create, a high quality product, you're able to brand it correctly, which are hard things to do. Don't think that that's an easy process to do. However, there's a lot of reward with doing that correctly. It gives you the ability to build a very valuable asset, and that asset being your brand long term. Another positive with selling on Amazon is that you're gonna have less Amazon problems. So the problems with the buy box or listing control, Amazon is allowing brand owners more ability to have control over their listings and how we sell on Amazon. These are all really great things if you are the brand owner. So it gives you more flexibility and less problems to deal with when it comes to Amazon and other sellers. The fourth pro is that you're in control over your margins. Where in the other models, you might be restricted on price, or you might not be able to compete within the market as aggressively, or if you have other sellers selling the product. In private labeling, you create the product, you set your own price. All of my brands are positioned as a premium within our respective market. That's the way that I'm teaching my students within my Launchpad course. And by the way, if you're interested in the Launchpad course, you can click on the link description below. But because we have greater control over the pricing, it allows us to be more flexible with the margins. And being able to adjust your pricing and your margin is definitely a positive when it comes to private labeling. Another positive is that anybody from anywhere can basically sell in any country doing private labeling. Whereas in the retail arbitrage model, you might have to be located close to a big box retail store. You can get it manufactured in one country and be selling in another country, all from your computer. So anyone can be basically doing this or running this business model from anywhere. Another positive with the private labeling model is that you're going to develop skill sets that are extremely valuable. And that's the whole way through the supply chain. So whether it's working with manufacturers or doing prototyping or mass production or logistics, selling on Amazon, whereas in the other models, you're only going to get a taste of certain aspects of the business model. In private labeling, you're going to get a full-blown picture, and you're going to develop skill sets the whole way throughout the supply chain that are extremely valuable. And I know everybody out there is very focused on making the most amount of money that they can. I just don't want you to undervalue the skills that you develop in going through a private label model, because they're equally just as valuable, and the things that you're going to be able to take away from that, you're going to be able to apply in a multitude of other areas within your life. Now let's talk about some cons. And the first con is that you control everything. So while that's also a positive, it's also a negative. Everything from idea selection to sourcing to manufacturing to logistics to selling, you're going to have your feet in all aspects of the supply chain of the business. So there's more chances for error. There's more chances for things to go wrong. There's higher risk involved. There's just more to manage. And you need to prepare yourself for that, because you're gonna have more on your plate. And if you're not ready for it, it can become a con. Leading off of that point is more things can go wrong. So because you are in so many different areas all at the same time, you're more prone to error or things going wrong. Now, I believe in every error that you make or every failure or mistake that you have just helps you grow and become a stronger, entrepreneur. So that's something that I'm not necessarily afraid of, making errors along the way, but there are more errors, or you're going to be prone to more errors just because you're going to be dealing with so many different aspects of the business. Another con here is that if you make a wrong product selection or you don't do your proper product research, it can really affect everything else along the way. It really comes down to selecting the appropriate niche market and then filling the opportunity there with a differentiated product. And if you don't get that key component correct, it's going to make everything else 10 times harder. And to be successful at private labeling long term, you have to understand that you're going to have product failures, and you got to be able to pick yourself back up and launch another product. And the last con with the private label business model is that you're going to experience, I believe, a larger emotional roller coaster ride. And that stems from responsibility. Because you have so much responsibility, because you're dealing with so many different aspects of your supply chain, there's going to be greater highs and there's going to be greater lows. You're going to have more responsibility, more on your plate, more things that can go right and wrong. So that emotional roller coaster that you're going to experience of building this, business model or becoming an entrepreneur is just going to be greater. At this point, I did want to mention that I do have a private label or an Amazon private label step-by-step video course. So if you're interested in unpacking more about private labeling or how to go about getting started with Amazon FBA utilizing private labeling, check out my course in the description below. In summary though, and the great thing about Amazon and Amazon FBA is that each one of these business models essentially stack on each self. So if you want to start at retail arbitrage and you're strapped on money or you have limited capital, this is a great place to start and get used to selling on Amazon, and the skill sets will compound. So you can start at retail arbitrage and you can slowly evolve your business into a wholesale model. Meanwhile, you'll be learning the pros and the cons firsthand of how to run each one of these models. And then if you're consistently reinvesting your profits and growing your business, maybe eventually you start and you want to launch a private label brand for yourself. So the benefit with Amazon FBA is that the skills are so valuable and there's so many different ways that you can make money utilizing Amazon. And that's what I hope that I've showed you guys with this video, is that the skills are important. You can start wherever you can, make the best decision for you, for where you currently are in your life, build up the skill sets and reinvest that capital, and eventually you'll be running a thriving e-commerce business. So I hope that you guys have gotten value out of this video. Please hit that thumbs up button or subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.